opinion. Today I am reviewing the new Broadway play, Stereophonic, written by David Adjmi, original songs by Will Butler, directed by Daniel Aukin, and running through July 7th at the Golden Theater. It's not a rumor, it's a fact that you can support my channel on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Your contribution helps meet expenses for me to produce this show, as well as my classic cinema podcast, Yesterday's Matinee. This is the real money sucker, especially this time of year when I'm making multiple trips a week to New York City. So whatever you can contribute, I deeply appreciate it. Thank you to my current patrons, especially my Neo and Hamilton tier patrons. A link will be in the description. I'll just out and say it. Stereophonic is about Fleetwood Mac. The names have been changed to protect the innocent, whomever that may be, or because Adjmi and Butler couldn't get legal permission to use their names. A 3-hour-plus deep dive into the minds of 5 musicians and 2 engineers, Stereophonic is a character study of the personalities of people with strong identities and how they clash in a creative environment. It's balanced with humor and drama and is one of the best new plays of the year. The first 3 acts are set in a sound studio in Sausalito, California, and the 4th in a studio in Los Angeles, starting in June of 1976 and going through June of 1977. Each act is titled after a classic 1970s rock album. Granted, one of them, Fear of Music by Talking Heads, didn't come out until 1979. The title is apropos, though, for the events that take place in the first act. The band is riding on the high of their latest album, being a #1 hit as they start working on their follow-up. This actually happened with Fleetwood Mac. Mick Fleetwood formed the band in 1967, but it wasn't until Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks joined the band and released the self-titled album Fleetwood Mac that they really took off. This is where Stereophonic depicts the creation of the follow-up album Rumors, though it's not Rumors. It's going to be something else. There's a great joke about what the proposed album title can be in Act 4. I love it. Anyway, I'm not going to do a play-by-play comparison. That would take forever, as in a play-by-play of Stereophonic versus Fleetwood Mac. Let me just say that what happens in Stereophonic could be considered an alternate universe story, essentially with similar people, just of different names. There are the Americans of the group, guitarist Peter, played by Tom Pachinka, and singer Diana, played by Sarah Pidgeon, the Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks analogs. Then the 3 Brits of the group, bassist Reg, played by Will Brill, and keyboardist Holly, played by Juliana Canfield, the John and Christine McVie analogs, and drummer Simon, played by Chris Stack, who represents Mick Fleetwood. Along for the tumultuous ride are the 2 sound engineers, Charlie, played by Andrew R. Butler, and Grover, played by Eli Gelb. As Act 1 begins, cocaine, weed, and alcohol is passed around like a candy haul on Halloween. Reg isn't handling the substance abuse well and putting a strain on the band and his relationship with Holly. Will Brill is the highlight of that first act. He balances the fried-out brain of a person abusing drugs and alcohol with the sentimental sadness of someone who knows his life is spinning out of control and is powerless to do anything about it. The first act is sort of a table setting, getting us all to know the characters and their hierarchy in the band. It is mostly run by Peter and Simon, with Peter exerting more dominance as the play moves along. Pachinka builds Peter's obsessiveness to make a masterpiece album to a fever pitch that threatens to destroy everything. Diana, meanwhile, is trying to come into her own as a songwriter, but without any formal musical education or training, she lacks confidence, something Peter uses to gaslight her into submission when she is composing her own song, which ends up being this epic 6-minute track that is shaping to be one of the best things they are working on for the album. He starts to tell her that the song's too long and needs to be cut short, and Diana combats Peter, looking to find her identity as a musician and a person. There is quite a bit of drama in all this, but there are some great moments of humor to help bring some levity. I'd say actually that David Adjmi's script and Daniel Aukin's direction really pushed the humor forward, especially in the first half, so as not to have us in the audience sitting for over 3 hours listening to a group of privileged musicians bicker and fight the entire time. Much of the humor comes from Andrew R. Butler and Eli Gelb as Charlie and Grover, having to sit there as engineers and react to the absolute insanity that is happening in the studio around them. The both of them are fantastic. Andrew Butler in particular has such a great subtle sense of humor. The cast and the direction by Aukin are excellent. Something they do that seems to be a lost art in theater nowadays is allowing a scene to live and breathe with no dialogue and characters sitting or moving about the stage. It feels like most directors are afraid of silence on stage, but Aukin allows it to fill the theater. It's not like nothing's happening on stage. The story keeps moving forward in the silence, and the actors stay engaged and invested in the actions. It's fantastic. I love it. Since this is a play about a band, there is music, and though it's not Fleetwood Mac's Rumors, Will Butler does create some excellent songs that fit the style of rock that Fleetwood Mac was playing, a mix of blues, pop, and folk rock. I love the costume design by Enver Chakartash. At the top of the play, the band is all dressed in lower quality bell-bottoms and hippie rock getup, but as their previous album skyrockets to popularity, their fashion becomes more extravagant as the year continues on throughout the play. Especially Peter, who develops his own posturing of wealth and status, almost peacocking around the stage with the attitude of being the most important person in the room. It's a fantastic combination of costume, acting, and directing. Though I have it on good authority from a musician associate of mine that some of the sound equipment used in the play hadn't been put into circulation yet, David Zinn's scenic design is great. I like that he uses a tiered set with the soundboard on the bottom downstage with a few risers giving elevation upstage, and then finally the recording room furthest back and a little higher. Praise to sound designer Ryan Rumery, as well as sound cues have to be matched perfectly with what Gordon and Charlie do in relation to the sound equipment, and if the audience can hear what's going on in the recording studio, and vice versa with the band members inside. I am actually curious as to whether or not they are actually running the sound coming out of the sound studio. It would be great if it is. That just adds to the realism, because it really is happening. Being that this is a rock band rehearsing, the music may be loud for some audience members. Personally, I'm all for the loud rock and roll, but sound-sensitive audience members may want to bring some kind of hearing protection for parts of the show, particularly near the end when the songs are coming to completion. Stereophonic is the first new play since Appropriate that I think is really an award contender, and what's amazing is that it is almost all character-driven. There's not much in deeper socio-political theme. This is all about 5 people with 2 observers disintegrating their bond together as they attempt to make a piece of art that they hope will outlive them all. But I'm only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see Stereophonic, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get tickets. Also in the description will be a link to my Patreon. Be sure to visit that as well if you'd like to support my channel. You can also support my channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and click the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be the new Broadway musical, The Outsiders. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.